Today I read an interesting article in the LA Times, which was that the newspaper did an analysis and noticed that the district attorney, Mr. Nathan Hodgman of Los Angeles, hasn't really been prosecuting or bringing charges against police officers who have injured people in the line of duty, including some deaths that have occurred in the line of duty, as well as other great bodily injuries. And they're just saying in the article that it's very difficult to bring criminal charges and then thereafter actually secure convictions against officers in the line of duty. Oftentimes, because juries, if charges are brought, juries are very understanding that it's a very high stakes situation when officers are responding to calls for service, and that hindsight's 2020, but having to place themselves in the position of the officer sometimes makes it a lot more difficult to establish all of the elements of a crime that are necessary to secure a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. But the article also highlights that convictions or charges even being brought by the district attorney is very rare. And the district attorney's argument for not bringing charges on many cases that involved officers injuring people is that they just don't see that they can secure a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. They see that it would be a very hard case to prove and that they may not have all the elements beyond a reasonable doubt in the situation, so they just don't bring these charges. In terms of civil litigation arising from these injuries, wrongful deaths and other injuries involving police officers in the line of duty, just because charges aren't brought, that does not mean that you can't secure a judgment in civil court, because as we know, the standard is preponderance of the evidence. In other words, 51% more likely than not, the officers were negligent or fell below their duty in the performance of their call for service or responding to the call for service. Whereas to secure a criminal conviction, that's of course beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest legal standard of review that we have in the justice system. So even though you don't get a conviction against a police officer, that doesn't mean that you can't get money from a civil judgment if you bring a civil claim related to the same accident or occurrence.